skiing in Chamonix for the first time.
There's like more than a lifetime's worth of stuff to do up in here. Let me show you how I set up my rope bag for backcountry skiing. So now we've got two screws kind of facing in the right direction. Really getting down on the surface of the snow. Woo-hoo! Yeah, just see where the day takes us like that. Hello, my name's Dave Searle and I'm a mountain guide based down in Chamonix. Yeah, I think because the weather's kind of mixed tomorrow, it's kind of cloudy, maybe a little bit of precipitation.
Good morning. Terrible night's sleep, but pretty excited anyway to go out there, learn about stuff. Just putting on my clothes, getting me a little excited, but also probably a bit annoying to ski with this stuff.
I think we can still get up high and maybe kind of dodge around the clouds a little bit, but I think it would be a great day to kind of practice some glacier travel skills, some crevasse rescue maybe. Just getting the brain like thinking about how you're gonna like navigate through the glacier.
I can't tell you how excited I am to get to finish the ski season with skiing in Chamonix for the first time. You know, I've just walked a few steps, but snow feels wonderful and winter-like despite we have 26th of April.
We kind of come out of the Grand Monte station like this and we slowly start coming onto a piece of glacier, and there's not many crevasses here, but then we come round over this little col here and around the corner here, and we're starting to get into kind of more crevasse terrain over here that we could see, and then there's also down here on the sort of Glacier d'Argentière, then yeah, there's quite a lot of crevasses there, and there's some really good areas you can do some kind of like training.
Wow, absolutely stunning views. Why are the mountains so pointy here?
I don't know, granite. Granite makes mountains quite pointy.
I'm really excited about both. The glacier navigation, I know nothing about.
Well, let's just treat tomorrow as like a kind of reintroduction into traveling on a glacier with skis, and then we can start to think about some of the skills that we need. You know, so some of those might be tying into the rope and taking coils, but it also could be like snow anchors. How do you actually build a snow anchor and pull somebody out? Why do we do certain things in certain ways? Like we keep one ski on at a time when we're doing transitions. So,
Freaking gorgeous here, mate.
welcome to the Argentière Basin.
Dude, it's the most beautiful, most inspiring looking mountains I've been among, I think.
Yeah, it's like, there's like, I think more than a lifetime's worth of stuff to do up in here. You know, and like if you add in rock climbing and skiing, it's amazing, and you know, every day's different as well. You know, we can just do a real kind of intro into kind of traveling on a glacier on skis, and I'm sure there'll be loads of questions that pop up, and we can just cover stuff and yeah, just see where the day takes us like that. One of my ideas for today was to kind of climb halfway up, or you know, most of the way up one of these couloirs off the Grand Monte ridge, like the couloir Chevalier or the couloir Gigord. We chatted about that. You know, sort of thinking about it a little bit more whilst we've come around here and we've seen some interesting things. We've seen an avalanche over there on that main face, which is sort of north facing, and we've also seen some stuff that's been triggered over on this side, which is like northeast facing, and that's the same aspect as these. And there's a lot of snow on that hillside at the moment. There's like loads and loads of snow sat on all those kind of spine features and in the couloirs. And that's because we've just had like a week of bad weather. You know, it's hardly surprising. But it's sometimes you kind of want to get up and see something firsthand before you make that decision. But for me today, I think climbing up one of those couloirs and trying to ski it would just be too dangerous.
Maybe it's for the bad. Then we can focus on what we're talking about, like glacier, navigation, travel.
Yeah, so if we're going to ski down from here, we're going to take the skins off. And the way that we're going to do that when we're on a glacier is we're going to take skins off one ski at a time.
Yeah.
Okay? We're also going to spread out a little bit as well. So we're not all stood on the same area. We're stood quite close here for the glacier, but we're kind of just doing that because I'm happy with this area. But good protocol is to be stood apart from each other, maybe so that I can't touch you with my pole, at least. Yeah, maybe even a little bit further. Yeah. And then we do one ski at a time. So we're going to keep one ski on. We're going to work on the other ski, put that one on, and then work on the other ski. If we were particularly worried about the crevasse danger, what could we do?
Rope up first, mate.
Exactly. Yeah, and also if we've got a split boarder in the team, they have to come completely off their board and do a transition. So then they have to really make the decision if they feel comfortable being unroped on the glacier, just on their boots, or whether it's a good idea to spread out, 15 meters and put a rope on and then do the transition like that. So that's just an idea for split boarders.
Well, it works pretty good though, standing, all the weight on one ski.
Yeah, sometimes you sink in a little bit.
So sick, yeah. So how do you think about navigating this terrain here?
Yeah, so obviously I'm quite familiar with this terrain up here, so I'm kind of just naturally flowing through it. But if you were coming here, you'd certainly want to look at the map, and you can see really on things like Fat Map where there's more crevasses. But it's also really obvious because you can see more chunks of ice, you can see more broken or rolling terrain, where it's going over, where the ice is going over terrain. You want to be a little bit more aware of what's going on. Like here, for example, it's rolling over, I can't quite see, there might be something beneath us, so I'd be slowing down as I get to here and looking and making sure. And then over on the far side over there, I'm seeing rocks, so that to me says that there's no glacier. So we've got like a kind of a flatter, wide glacier here that we're skiing on, which is great skiing. And then we've got, slightly more crevasse glacier over there.
Oh, good snow too. So skiable. Well, that was some fun.
Yeah, that was sick.
Look at you. You look like a professional filmmaker.
Let's have a quick look here at some ice screws and ice screw anchors. Doesn't take long.
Cool.
And that's an ideal situation. If somebody falls in a crevasse and you can get an ice screw anchor, perfect. If you can't get an ice screw or a big boulder, for example, there's a few big boulders around that you might be able to wrap the rope around or wrap a sling around. That would also be ideal. And if you can't do that, then you would use a snow anchor. So I've got a long screw with an ice threader inside, and this is basically just it's a hook, and it's also got a blade on it as well for cutting cord. So it's pretty handy, and the idea is you can fish bits of cord out of holes so you can make a thread. So learning about how all this stuff works is a really important thing. Making sure we've got a nice thick piece of ice that we're using. So I'm going to go right in here, and we can do this one-handed as well, and it's really good to practice doing it one-handed rather than holding it as you put it in. And what we're going to do is we're going to do a series of small turns like that, maybe 3, to create a little bit of a hole. And then we're going to do some 180-degree turns like that until the screw is a little bit more stable. Okay, maybe one more there, and then we can start winding like this with the handle, and it's really quick and easy. As you wind in, you'll start to see the ice coming out of that, you'll start to see like a core coming out of there, and you'll feel the resistance as it goes in. Yeah, and then we're trying to get this plate up flat against the ice. So you wind it in until it's solid, and then you face it in the direction that you're going to use it in.
What's a good rule of thumb of distance?
Yeah, so distance-wise, you're looking at about an arm to finger away, so maybe somewhere up here would be the best. And yeah, you can just clean that sort of snow out somewhere there.
Arm to finger. It already has like a little pocket. 2, 3, maybe one more. How about the angle of the screw?
So yeah, I mean, interestingly, when you're pulling against the ice screw, yeah, you're really pulling against the surface area of the thread rather than the surface area of the tube. So it's not pulling like, you know, it's not that kind of levering motion, it's the pulling against the thread. So in some ways, it would be better if we're pulling this way, right, is to have it facing a little bit more up the way. There you go, starting at that angle.
Yeah, here's biting immediately, like the first attempt. I wonder what was going on there.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the ice is all different in different places. Sometimes it doesn't work as well. There you go.
Yeah. It's a little bit more faff than I would have thought. It looks so straightforward.
Yeah, it's tight there, so back it off a little bit. There, so now we've got 2 screws kind of facing in the right direction.
Always clip them in from the top, you said? I'll flip it over.
Yep.
Is that true also on the ice?
So the screw gate can theoretically, with a load of vibration, if it was this way, it could screw itself open, theoretically,
So use
right?
gravity to
So
close it.
you use gravity to, if it shakes, to close it down, okay? And then you face in the direction of where you're going. Yeah.
Do you want me to do an overhand?
Yeah. There's.
Or cross them, or...
Thinking about different ways of building anchors to have redundancy. Redundancy means if one of these ice screws fails, for example, that pulls out of there, it's still going to be held on this one. And that's the reason why we want it to be equalized, so the load is equal on both strands. What we could do to insulate these screws a little bit more is do something like that.
That's cool.
Just pack in a load of ice on top of there and around it. Thinking about the next way of building an ice anchor, which is something that you can leave behind if you wanted to do an abseil as well. It's a really strong way of building an ice anchor. We call it an Abalakov thread, named after the guy who created it. And yeah, what we're basically trying to do is create a tunnel in the ice that's as big as possible. So with that in mind, we're going to use the longest screw that we have, ideally 20 centimeters or 22 centimeters, and we're going to make kind of an equilateral triangle, because that's going to give us the most amount of ice, right? There is ways that you can measure it, but you know, in the real world, you're not going to measure it. Just do it by eye. And then once you put the first one in, I'll show you the trick to get the second one in. So bring that one out. Takes a little bit of time to do this. And what we're going to do is going to use our threading tool like this. We're going to stick that all the way in the hole, and we're going to use that kind of as our guide to figure out where we're going to put our next screw. So there to there. So it's going to be somewhere around about there.
So if I had it there, I just slide it back a wee bit there.
A little bit more, I'd say. Almost a full screw width, like there.
Okay.
If we put that all the way in, then you might see it move when you hit it.
Come on. Oh.
Yeah, did you see that?
Uh-huh.
Can you see the thread?
Yeah, I see a little bit.
Yeah,
I went like just at the bottom of it.
Okay, should work. So yeah, let's see if we can get this threaded. So cord goes in this side and then, yeah, nice. There you go. Well done. So here we could tie this into a loop.
What kind of knot are we doing?
We're doing a re-threaded overhand knot, that's a tape knot. It's actually called a tape knot. So we got that there. So it's pulling. It's like an overhand knot, right? But you've re-threaded it so the tails are coming out both ends like that. So now we've got our nice loop there that we can do stuff off. Okay, and then we could also, So we could cut that bit off and we could leave that behind and we could abseil off it. So it's a nice thing that we can do for getting down a couloir, for example, but it's useful in crevasse rescue as well. We've just been looking at ice anchors and now we're going to think about with just the setup that we would use if somebody had fallen in a crevasse over there, unroped, okay? Because if you were roped up, it's slightly different. You have to take the weight off you have to build an anchor. And what I've got here is a 30-metre Petzl rad line. Yeah. Let me show you how I set up my rope bag for backcountry skiing. So here I have a very lightweight stuff sack and it's made of ripstop fabric and I've cut 2 little holes in the bottom and it's also got this little tab on it as well that I've included the rope loop through. So on the inside of here I have a re-threaded figure of 8 so you can't lose the bag if you throw it into a crevasse, for example. This loop is easily big enough to clip a carabiner through. So now I've got it stuffed away, let me show you how I'm going to attach the carabiner onto the end of here as well. I'm going to start by tying a clove hitch in here and turning that onto the inside like that. Put my carabiner through there. Then I'm going to tie an overhand like that and have that right up next to that clove hitch. Now my carabiner isn't twisting around and moving. This is a twist lock carabiner, so it's much easier to clip onto your harness or somebody else's harness, and you don't have to remember to screw up a gate. If you fall in a crevasse and I throw a rope to you, you clip through this loop at the bottom. Yeah? And then, so what I can do there is I can clip this onto the anchor that I've just made. Yeah. Or if we were in a bit more of a rush, I'd clip it onto my waist and then I could throw it over to them and get them safe much quicker. So it's clipped onto the anchor, and the great thing about having it pre-stacked in a bag like this is that I can throw it into them kind of directly. So rather than having it coiled up and then having to uncoil the rope, make kind of like a bomb of rope in my hand to throw to them, that takes a bit of time, a bit of extra energy. It's already ready to go. So I definitely recommend figuring out this system. So let's say we want to get somebody out of that crevasse, underarm or overarm, whatever you feel more comfortable with. I'm going to go overarm.
Nice throw, mate.
Into that crevasse. And then hopefully you can hear enough to hear whether or not we've...
You hit me. Yeah.
And then we're going to pull the rope up until it comes tight onto them. And that's going to create our working rope here that we can use to do the haul. Okay, so pretending like Jens is in that crevasse and we're going to try and get him out, is the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put my micro or nano traction or whatever kind of pulley rope clamp device you have. There are a few of those on the market. What's the difference between these two devices? This is the Petzl micro traction. It's rated for 8 to 11 millimeter ropes and it weighs 79 grams. It has a way that you can lock the teeth back and open, so it turns it basically just into a pulley, which is a nice feature, and that means it's a lot more useful in crevasse rescue situations. This is the nano traction and it weighs 51 grams, so it's a little bit lighter by about 28 grams than the micro traction, and it's rated for 7 to 11 millimeter ropes. So this actually works slightly better with thinner ropes. The pulley is a little bit smaller on this device, which means that it doesn't quite work as efficiently as the micro traction. The nano traction's teeth will always be engaged. There's no way to lock those open for crevasse rescue situations. They've both been rated with the Petzl Radline and the Petzl Purline. So there you go, now you know. Use an oval shaped carabiner because that sits nicely in the bottom of there. Right, that's fairly important, but it doesn't really matter which shape you use. But it is, it's nicer with an oval shaped carabiner like that. I'm going to clip that onto the anchor there, and I'm going to screw that gate up. In fact, I'm just going to flip that round like that so it's coming out of the top. Like that. Okay. But now I've got to go down a little bit closer to where Jens is, and then I want to prepare the lip of the crevasse and then put something on the rope that I can then start pulling him back with. And the best way to do this is to loop a prusik. So you can do a climb heist or a French prusik, so you don't really need to worry too much. Let's do a climb heist.
Joyas de oro no les diré, con botellitas doradas y un gallito palestre. Chambeando más no les diré, con botellitas doradas y un gallito palestre.
So what I'm going to do is clip to it here with my connect adjust, like that, and I'm going to start sliding this down towards Jens, okay? And the reason for that is that I'm keeping it sliding down towards the ends. The reason is if I were to fall in a crevasse, okay, we're going to be loading against Jens rather than against the anchor. If I was to kind of go down on this rope, for example, if I were to fall in a crevasse, we're going to have two people loading this anchor. Ah. So it's really important that we have this going in this direction so that, you know, we're going to be counterbalanced over a piece of ice. Does that make sense?
That makes sense. Dude, there's so much nuance to this.
Yeah, there's a lot of nuances to it for sure. So I'm going to start bringing this rope down with me, pushing this as I go. This could be more on the surface of the snow. It's quite easy for me to push it here because the rope is off the snow, like that. So I'm getting down towards the lip of the crevasse here, and I'd maybe bring some ski poles down with me, and I'd put them underneath the rope here on the lip of the crevasse. Mm-hmm. We'll have a look at that later. So I'm going to use a Petzl tib lock on the rope here, and I'm going to clip over the rope like that. My feeling is it's better to have it clipped over the rope. So now I'm ready to start trying to haul you on this strand, okay? What we're going to do is tie it off here with a clove hitch, like that. It's really nice doing it with a clove hitch because when you've pulled for a little bit, then you can readjust it by just pulling a little bit of slack through like that. And now I'm basically pulling this way with a 3-to-1 mechanical advantage. A little bit less because there's going to be friction on this carabiner. Okay. Now I'm going to get rid of this guy. Whoop, like that. Put that away. And I'm just going to show you the kind of way that we're going to haul because I feel like a lot of people do this quite inefficiently. Okay, they may be just pulling with their arms, stuff like that. And what you really need to do is get down low and use the big muscles in the legs to pull. So it's best to have some gloves on for this because we're going to be like right down on the surface of the snow. And maybe you had gloves on the whole time, so whatever. And that's what I'm going to be pulling on, okay, to pull down. You could even put a prusik on here, right, as an extra handhold, and then you could slide it, pull, and there you're using your hands to grip the rope as well. Yeah. And what we're going to do is I'm really going to step over everything. Yeah, this is this other part of rope. Step over everything, identify that piece of rope. Are you ready? I'm really getting down on the surface of the snow and crawling across like this.
Yeah, you definitely pulled my body weight there, I'd say.
Yeah. even just that extra bit of mechanical advantage there and the proper technique is most of the time enough to get somebody out. Help.
You fell in the crevasse.
I'm here to rescue you.
So in our scenario, I clipped in the rope, I thrown the bag. Do you have the rope? Did you catch the rope, Dave? Okay, I don't get an answer, so. Is that you?
Yeah.
Okay, we got Dave.
So I'm down in this crevasse. I've just put myself on an ice screw there and waiting for Jens to set up a hauling system and pull me up this kind of steep snow bank.
All right, Jens, you can put this on the right way first try. It slides that way, doesn't slide that way. Very good. You know, they aren't rocket science, these things. That is good. Now we have to walk and save the edge. 1, 2, 3. I am safe. Oh wow, we got so little rope. What on earth am I doing? That's the way it should look. Nice one. I'm happy that we have the 3, 2, 1. Happy. Let's go on a walk. Let's see if we can secure the edge. Remember how we said I could have done it better with this one? Just remember. So I can walk more comfortably. Oh.
So, Jens, it's really important actually, a really important thing when you're practicing this is that when you start pulling, yeah, if I shout stop, you've got to stop immediately.
Uh-huh.
Because what's probably going to happen here is the rope is going to cut into this lip, yeah, and you could crush me against the snow. So yeah, put those poles kind of under the rope and as far close to the edge as possible.
Mm-hmm.
But then you have to really pay attention and listen to if I shout stop.
Yeah.
Push as much of that overhanging snow off, so it's really like a nice smooth lip for me to come over.
Uh-huh.
And you got to make sure that you tell me to bring the poles with me, otherwise we might lose them. So am I on the micro traction?
You are on the micro traction on the top?
So I can take the screw out?
Yes.
Okay.
This would be so stressful if he was actually injured. And it would be much harder to think. All right, Dave, can I pull?
Yeah.
Sweet. Nice.
Okay, slowly, slowly. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Nice, yeah, keep going a little bit then. And I'm out.
You did it.
Nice one, buddy. Yeah, belay me in a little bit on the micro traction then.
Yay.
Boom.
Nice.
So what do you think about today?
Oh, so sick to finally ski here in Chamonix.
It's really important that after today you practice again sometime in the next week.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna set it up at home and just like...
Yeah, and just kind of get used to how you set up those pulley systems and then thinking about the snow anchors or the ice anchors, whatever you need to kind of make a solid anchor to then do the pulley system.
Yeah.
And like going back to the, you know, pulling somebody out of a crevasse is quite hard work compared with them climbing themselves out.
Yeah.
So it's always preferential that you know, either belay somebody out or fix a rope for them so they can climb out because it's a lot less work for you.
Yeah.
But if they're not able to do that because maybe they've got an injury, then you need to pull them out. And it's totally different when you tie two people and you're either skiing or ski touring and somebody falls in and you have to get their weight off. So that's almost the hardest thing, and that's something that you need to practice as well, is like having somebody's weight hanging off your harness and then doing a little anchor, getting the weight onto that, and then building a better anchor and getting the weight onto the better anchor as well. So yeah, a whole nother thing to kind
Way
of
more
practice.
difficult.
Way more difficult, yeah. Yeah.
How's the potatoes?
Potatoes. Oh, good. Should we
Oh.
check on this?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's still completely raw.
We ran out of
We ran
gas,
out of gas.
so we gotta go in and cook it on the stove.